So in this section, which is 17.2 in your OpenStax Concepts of Biology book, we're going to be talking about the innate immunity that you have in your body. Like innate meaning what do you have on board all the time, just helping you against potential invaders that come into your body. And these aren't specialized. You have two different types of immunity. One is innate immunity, meaning it's just there as a broad or general cover and protection. And the other one is an adaptive immunity, which means that it is specific and it's generally because you fought that infection before or you've had a vaccine before that your body knows it's been introduced to that invader before, and it remembers and it knows how to fight it again. So the innate immune system is the one that you just naturally have on board, that's like a broad general, what are your general protection, protocols that your body has to protect it generally. So you do have some external and chemical barriers in your body to pathogens. Believe it or not, I know it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but some of these are listed here. Like these are your innate immunities and these are your adaptive. So in this section, this is what we're paying attention to, is your innate immunities. So for your skin, you have a protein called keratin, and that alone resists many things that come into your skin. Your skin is usually pretty dry, and many pathogens need to have some kind of moisture in order to get in. And then additionally, your skin is actually slightly acidic. Additionally, you have different body openings, ears, eyes, your genitals, anus will be different openings into your body, but those are usually protected with not only mucus membranes, but that mucus is a sticky physical trap for things that could come in. Additionally, things like saliva or mucus or your tears contain an enzyme that will actually break down bacteria's walls, essentially killing them. Uh, Different openings of your body are also protected with hair that will collect different things. You also have cilia in your throat, which are tiny little hairs that in your like larynx, where you bring down like your air, you will actually have, instead of those pathogens getting down into your lungs, they will actually have cilia that scoot the pathogens backwards, and then they are discarded going down your esophagus, so that you swallow those pathogens instead of breathing them in, where they have a quick pathway to be absorbed into the blood. So you might think, well, eating them is no better. No, it's a lot better, because your stomach is extremely acidic and very few things will survive that. Deeper down in your body, you actually also, we have a number of microorganisms that live in our digestive tract, and those microorganisms like fungi or archaea, or we have different bacteria, they coexist with us. They make us different vitamins and nutrients, and frankly, we can't survive very well without them. And so we house them, and they give us some food and everything. Well, when foreign invaders come in, they do not like it, and they themselves will fight different invaders that come in. So we have a number of external and chemical barriers in our body. But if the invader gets in, then we also have some internal defenses. And before I talk about this section, I actually have to go to the end of the section and talk about complements, because I think they fit better back here. So what complements are is they are actually proteins that, when you have antibodies recognize that something is an invader, and they will actually hook onto that invader. Well, you have a large protein response called a complement system, and those proteins will come, and when they see that an antibody has bound to an invader, those proteins will literally come and pile themselves onto it, risking themselves to mark it for your body for destruction. And they'll literally glue themselves, and they're like, blow this up, and eat. And your body will usually lyse it or digest it, or otherwise, that those proteins are programmed to self-sacrifice when there are invaders in our body. So they're the first. I kind of would rather you look at it that way instead of the way the book had it laid out. So once they are on there, the way that they mark is that we have well, let me back up and tell you what a white blood cell is. A white blood cell is a type of a cell called a phagocyte, is one name for them, and they destroy foreign invaders basically by like giving them a huge hug. They blob themselves around and give a huge hug, and then they eat it. So I will show you a quick animation of this. This is like one, and you can see it just plowing right through. Um, Sorry the music is so loud here, but you can see it just plowing through, just chasing down all of these invaders, and it's just eating it. And it does that by doing it. It essentially, like that one, it really showed it rolling around. But if you look at more videos of that, it will actually really show them just kind of engulfing them or reaching around them and just essentially digesting them. So there's different types of white blood cells like monocytes, macrophages, basophils, eosinophils. You can have neutrophils, but a white blood cell is generally larger than a red blood cell. It has a nucleus when a red blood cell does not. It gets special permission where it can leave the bloodstream and go where it needs to go so it can handle the business that it needs to do. So when a pathogen comes into your body, you'll release something called cytokines. And cytokines are chemical messengers that send alerts to the rest of your body to say, hey, something's not right here. Look, there's a huge cut. And as cytokines bind to a cell, they will actually leave that cell and go and wake up surrounding cells cytokines to get them to come out and to release, and then those cytokines will spread out to more nearby cells, get their cytokines to come out. So it really works like a chemical alarm system in your body to say, hey, there's an emergency here. And those cytokines really do work in what's called a positive feedback loop. So a positive feedback loop, if you guys can think of like something going viral in social media or something where it's like it just picks up momentum, and by a few days millions of or more people have seen something. That's sort of the way a positive feedback loop works, is where the cytokines from one cell go and send alarm to nearby ones and nearby ones, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it's just really it's just there and it's noticed. That's how a positive feedback loop works. Most of our body works via a negative feedback loop, so this is kind of a rare circumstance of a positive feedback loop. So most feedback loops work like your body starts getting too hot, and so you start sweating, and your mouth gets dry, so you start drinking more water. Or say you get too much salt in your blood, so you start feeling thirsty, and your kidneys start filtering out more salt. So that's a negative feedback loop. Like as soon as you get higher, as soon as you get low, your body kicks in to take care of it. A positive feedback loop is one that goes, like social media viral, like where it just takes off and gets bigger and bigger. So the job of the cytokines specifically is they will cause the area to get inflamed. The area gets red, heat, swelling, pain. It actually triggers capillaries nearby, so blood nearby, to actually get kind of leaky. So fluids will actually come out, and you'll see like an injury that like just keeps leaking or it seems to be swollen in that area, that's because a lot of fluid has gone there and gotten leaky. That is an alert to you and an alert to your body that something is wrong there. Then neutrophils will come and they will engulf different pathogens that they find. Like on here, you can see these bacteria. So the neutrophils will go and like again blob around them and eat them, and then you'll have different, like for instance macrophages that come along and they'll clean up some of the mess, some of the damage. So one of the things that can also be caused here is fevers and getting really hot. These bacteria and different pathogens, they usually can only live in a very narrow temperature range. So when your body gets a little hot or a little cold, they usually die. So getting a fever is one of your body's responses to protecting you and helping you heal. Now, of course, sometimes that can get way too high or way too cold, that it can cause damage, and then it needs to be taken care of. But otherwise, it's not too bad of a thing to have a fever. And usually, if we're medicating low fevers, you're actually delaying a good response because you're helping that bacteria stay in its ideal range. And you want that bacteria to feel uncomfortable and die, which is what your body's doing by giving you a fever. So, the next thing that I wanted to bring up was the natural killer cells. They are constantly on patrol in the body looking for infected cells or other problems like cancer, for instance. And if it found something like a cancer, then the natural killer cells will actually program those cells for death when they find them. And that death process is called apoptosis, where they actually get it to self-destruct. So that's an important cell. I wanted to show you down here some different shapes of some of these cells that are involved in the innate immune system. This is the macrophage that does the cleanup, for example, or neutrophils that blob around. These are natural killer cells that will go and find different things like cancers and program them for death. So that's all that's in this section. I hope you learned a little bit more about your innate immunity.